Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my series called Whispers from the Hedge. My name is Liam and I'll speak to you from this hedge in the heart of Wiltshire, other known as the land of the willows. Now, today I've got a story for you, and I was looking for a story last night after reflecting on recent life events and really just looking for something that kind of taught us something about strength and dealing with the challenges of life and the different ways that we can deal with the challenges of life. Now, I'm not used to storytelling, especially without prompts, but I have become aware that actually humans have been telling stories for a really long time. And it's only recently that we've begun to rely on prompts and textual references in order to actually remember stories, which I feel is something we've lost, and I'm very excited about bringing this back as a way to keep these stories alive, really, and keep that wisdom embodied in the real world and in the flesh. Okay, so sorry if it's a bit windy today. Whilst it does suit the topic of the video, I appreciate my whispers might be a little bit quiet, so I'll try and be a little bit louder so you can hear me, and soon I'll be looking to get some sort of windshield. But with that said, I hope you're all doing really well today. I hope you're finding some peace and quiet, and especially in the autumn as the leaves start falling, it's really a time to get out and smell, breathe in all the fresh, crisp air. So I hope you're getting time to do that today. Now, the story I've got for you is called The Oak and the Willow, and it's an English folk tale, but it was also found orally across Europe, and we think it goes back to the medieval era. So it's a wonderful tale about strength and different ways of approaching strength. Okay. So this story, the oak and the willow, two trees stood together by a glistening lake next to a meadow and a village that was inhabited by many families and people who have lived there for as long as the trees have grown. So the two trees stood in this meadow by the lake, each unique in their qualities. The oak was tall, strong, stubborn and rigid as its proud branches reached high into the sky, and its roots went deep down into the earth that anchored it to the ground. The willow was young, flexible, but timid, and looked at the oak and its greatness and wished it was like the oak. Now one day, a great storm came through the meadow and over the land. As all the villagers hurried inside their homes and battened down the hatches, the storm began to rage through. The two trees standing by the lake in the meadow, each were prepared to bear the brunt of this storm as the rain lashed down and the wind howled through the land and across the hills. The storm raged all night. It was one of the most powerful storms that had ever come to these lands. The next morning, the stubborn oak and the willow stood still in the field, in the meadow. But as the villagers, they came out of their homes to check and assess the damage of the storm, they noticed that the once proud, standing, rigid oak, stubborn in its mightiness, had cracked under the pressure. Its branches had snapped. Once standing tall, now lay broken and fractured on the ground. The willow, on the other hand, had bent in the wind and flexed as the wind howled and the gusts whispered through its leaves. Came out unscathed. Upon seeing one another, the oak was humbled, and the willow regained a new sense of strength, born of its adaptability and its ability to surrender and yield to the events of the storm. Now, I think this is such a wonderful story because it shows us that strength is not always necessarily what we think. And sometimes when life throws challenges at us, we brace ourselves by becoming rigid. And as those winds come through and my voice is possibly distorted, it reminds me of this approach that we have. However, I think there's a lot we can learn from the willow, as the oak did. To just be able to respond to the events of life, to the things that are outside of our control, to not stand too firm and actually try and invite in some surrender. And I particularly like this right now. It's very relevant because when I was in bed the other night, I was laying there, woke up with this deep feeling of despair in the pit of my stomach after, I won't go into it, but years of things going wrong. A big storm came along and washed my boat away. I have to pay this giant debt. Anyway, this storm, represents the unfortunate, unrelenting forces that can affect us in our lives. So I woke up in bed the other night with this feeling of despair in my stomach. And I actually got down on my knees and I prayed. I prayed to the universe. And I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where to go. I'm not strong enough for this. And when I woke up the next day, I had this amazing sense of acceptance that had just come into me, as if my prayers had been answered. And that's why I really looked for a story like this, because it was that humbling moment, when you accept that the approach that you've been using to try and withstand the events of life have left you cracked under the pressure like the oak. And it's through that cracking that actually leaves us in a place of desperation sometimes. And that's when we become open to different ways of understanding strength and therefore different approaches to going forwards and dealing with the events of life. So hope you enjoyed that story. Thanks for listening and giving me the space to be able to express it. If you've come this far through the video, I really appreciate you. And so I wanted to let you know as well, I tend to create a podcast. There's a beautiful willow outside where I live. And I think it would make a really nice place for a podcast. And I know all sorts of magical people from across the lands, witches, wizards, sorcerers, healers, sages and oracles who I've met along my journey, and I intend to invite them down and sit with them and ask them about their lives and their crafts, and just try and basically have very honest conversations about nature, human culture, life, philosophy, spirituality, and see if we can start weaving some more stories, because I feel like YouTube has gone in a very interesting direction as it's branched out into all these different areas. You're starting to see a lot more storytelling and a lot more folk wisdom coming through. So I really want to keep sort of traveling down this channel, and hopefully if you guys are along for the journey, we can start to build something and hopefully offer each other insight, and hopefully stories can give us direction and compasses and ways and maps of navigating this terrain that we find uncharted in front of us. So thank you so much for listening this far. I really do appreciate you. I hope the story is of value to you. If it was, please like, subscribe, share it with a friend. This is a daily practice, so whether or not you are still listening, I will be here tomorrow for another story or reflection, and I really look forward to your input as well. So thanks for listening. Hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you again real soon. All my love. Cheers.